Hi, the following is my complete timeline for my theory that the biblical god is actually good old mate Loki. Kicking us off, the goddess Idun grew these apples which were responsible for the Norse god's youth and vigor, and one day Loki abducted her, and in this time the gods grew old and enfeebled, and he supposedly gave her back. But what if he only pretended to, instead letting all the other gods kick the bucket and rewriting history to pretend that he'd always been the one and only god? Now, in the start of the Bible, we see Adam and Eve, aka Ash and Elm, the Norse first humans, in the Garden of Eden, aka Eden's orchard. Now, God doesn't want them eating the forbidden fruit for some reason, and once they do, they live to be like 1,000 years old. Off to a bad start, but there's an even bigger flaw in Loki's plan, and that's that Ragnarok is still destined to happen and will come to pass if he allows Baldur to perish. So he is to keep him alive because it's prophesied that once Ragnarok happens, Baldur will be resurrected as a monotheistic god and thus depose Loki. So Loki's got no choice but to keep him alive. Perhaps he'll keep him captive underground, ironically and cruelly, suffering the punishment that Loki himself was supposed to endure after offing Baldur. Baldur is the god of light. Remind me what name means light bringer? Lucifer. Loki can't do anything else but discredit and slander Baldur, so that even if Ragnarok does come to pass, the army of heaven, aka the Einherjar, will be on Loki's side rather than Baldur's. And even if Baldur is successful in being resurrected as monotheistic god, people will hate him. But I think there is one other god that Loki would willingly let live: Odin. A notorious thorn in Loki's side, I think he would concoct a unique punishment for the god of war and wisdom, something that would hit him where it hurts most: his ego. I think Loki would keep him captive, poisoning his mind, tricking and manipulating him. Think King Theoden in Lord of the Rings. I think he would put him through a perversion of his own myth on the world stage so that people didn't remember Odin as the conqueror he was, but as a servant of peace. Jesus. His magic is completely within Odin, a god of magic's wheelhouse, and where Odin willingly hanged himself from a tree in order to gain knowledge and power for himself, Jesus was unwillingly hanged from a cross or bits of a tree for Odin's lessons, his creation. Side note, when Jesus is tempted by Lucifer in the desert, we can now see that as Baldur just trying to break Loki's spell and bring his father back. That's it for part 1. Find part 2 in the playlist.